नहीं मिलता, जो एक खुदा नहीं मिलता तो इतना मातम क्यों, जो एक खुदा नहीं मिलता तो इतना मातम क्यों, यहां तो कोई मेरा हमजबा नहीं मिलता। खड़ा हूं कब से मैं चेहरों के एक जंगल में, खड़ा हूं कब से मैं चेहरों के एक जंगल में, तुम्हारे चेहरे सा कुछ भी यहां नहीं मिलता। Good evening and welcome to Sheetal Conversations, Sunday evening, 7 p.m. IST show. This is your host, Jugal Kaur, speaking from the threshold of Sheetal Conversations. You are watching our 129th show. So, as we know that we all, I'm like that bioscope wala, taking you along, the people along, the great civilizational shades and different time spaces across millennia, across centuries, and different shades meandering into the color, topography, culture, traditions, musicology, men and matters, ancient wisdoms, photography, sciences, ancient and new sciences, modern sciences, literature, and many many other things that we have been doing in this show, with a very articulated way because our guests have been the very eminent public figures with great credentials, great integrity, a great sense of scholarship and responsibility. And our shows are in the archives now, and they are a kind of a source for the research material for the future and the seekers and all kind of people who really wanted to have it. So once again, I'm indebted to all of you joining into Sheetalath Conversations and for your support. Before I talk about today's topic and today's theme, I want to say that you must all be knowing that Orelstein once came to Kashmir when he was on his work towards Raj Tarangani. He said, somewhere he has said these lines, in the night side across the Wuller Lake, small storm made me worry for the safety of all and of my script, especially manuscript Raj Tarangani. It seemed as if the goddess of wisdom, Saraswati, Sharda, here it is Sharda, in Kashmir it is Sharda, represented by the waters of Kashmir, was willing to let me abduct the manuscript. This is what happened 1200 years ago in the Chinese pilgrim Hunsong, who had to leave his Sanskrit manuscript in the angry Indus River. So in a way, this is a very conspicuous place, and as per the spiritual sciences go, we have Shruti and Smriti, and there are many, many wonders of ancient wisdoms and spirituality which are hidden there, and they are in different shapes, they are in visible and invisible forms. So that's why this land is very poised, and it has always been into the forefront, especially many of the Kashmiris have they constitute the majority of the people who constituted these great manuscripts, ancient scriptures of Sanskrit. So Kashmiris contributed in that. So Kashmiris have a very, very great track record of contributing, and they took all the Oriental wisdoms to the Occident, to the Far East, to the Red Sea and other areas, and they also brought certain things from there. So there are a number of stories. We have already talked on these subjects. And once again, I don't want to repeat this whole. Let's come to today's topic straight away. In our quest to explore the nuggets hidden in our history, let me take you today to the earliest period of the 17th century Spain, where the first modern novel, considered to be the founding work of Western literature, The Ingenious Gentleman Don Quixote of La Mancha, was written by Miguel de Cervantes, the greatest book of the world across the 4 centuries, finished in 2 volumes by 1605 and 1615. The essence of this classic is a profound paradox of idealism versus realism, establishing highly inflated, romanticized worldview with the general obscure scene of early 17th century Spain. It is the worldview of the Don Quixote. The novel is a satire of chivalric romance and literary conversation of that time. So I don't have to much tell you about. Many of you know about the novel. But here, slightly, we are going to explore something more, something very important and precious for all of us, the natives on this part of the country. He witnesses giants who Don Quixote. Don Quixote witnesses giants and enhanced castles which are seen to his companion Sancho as just the ordinary windmills and roadside inns. Sancho is a very ordinary sensed personality, and he is along with this main character of this particular classic. It holds the magic of discovery of fathomless power of storytelling. I mean, it was a first of its sort of a classic, which can hold in it the earliest concepts of storytelling and the powers of storytelling. This magnum opus, written in 2 volumes, is spread over 1,000 pages and 138 chapters, and the most published, translated, and read book in the world of literature. Consequent to the untiring passion of the Oxford scholar businessman Karl Keller, its all 700 editions and translations were gathered from across the world till the mid of 20th century. In the absence of any Sanskrit and Kashmiri translation of this wondrous Spanish classic, Keller requested his friend Oral Stein to get these almost impossible translations authentically accomplished. Stein passed on the request to the great Kashmiri scholar, Professor Nectionsnctions Shastri, who, along with another eminent scholar, Professor Jagdar Zadu, jointly completed the translations in the Sanskrit and Kashmiri languages simultaneously within a short span of 1 year. It's an unparalleled, illustrious historic moment of the achievement for the Kashmiri scholars translating world's first modern novel in the world's oldest language, Sanskrit. So that's something to be felt very proud of. It is astounding, and in mid of the 20th century, we didn't have the resources. Keller, after receiving the brilliant Sanskrit and Kashmiri translations of Don Quixote in the year 1937, deposited both in the Harvard Library, but the simultaneous bilingual masterpiece translations of the Spanish world classic of two Kashmiri geniuses was lost to the dust of abundant, unknown, forlorn shelves of Harvard Library until rediscovered by Professor Nityanand Shastri's grandson, Dr. S.N. Pandita, in the year 2002. Anu's lead, Dr. Dragomir Dimitrov, I don't know if I pronounce it well or not, from the University of Marburg, Germany, rescued it from the oblivion from the shelves of Houghton Library, a repository of rare books and manuscripts of Harvard University, finally published. This was published in 2012 at Pune. Sanskrit translation in the is the Kashmir's greatest contribution to the world of Western literature. We are fortunate to have in our studio Dr. S.N. Pandita, the progeny of the tallest Kashmiri scholar, the bygone century, Professor Nityanand Shastri, to unravel this amazing literary happening of 20th century. Owning a celebrated family legacy, our guest conversationalist, Dr. S.N. Pandita, is a widely traveled writer, researcher, author, and a visiting scholar who has presented research papers on Kashmir's heritage, culture, literature, and language in the most prestigious national and international universities and venues. Dr. Surendranath Pandita is the author of more than 7 well-known books on the history of collaborative scholarship by the Western and Kashmiri scholars in 19th and 20th century. It's a very precious work. And he has scripted and co-directed several documentary heritage films. His multifaceted personality, professional career spans across banking, teaching, training, civil services, higher technical education, and other important strategic corporate affairs. So without any much delay, I would like to invite him to the studio. Such a brilliant personality, and he has a legacy, and he has a story to tell about Don Quixote. And that is something we all must not have been aware of. I think Sheetala's conversation was the first in my conversations when Dr. Saab had come earlier. He did almost 3 conversations here. And we touched very, 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 very brilliant subjects, unknown subjects, amazing subjects of the collaborative scholarship of Western and the Kashmiri scholars. And there he had rather committed and revealed it that Don Quixote's this whole story was there, but for a very brief while. So he is a senior to me in GGM Science College. I have this Don Quixote complex, not exactly Don Quixote complex, because just 100 years back it was known as Prince of Wales. So he was my senior in Prince of Wales College in academics. I was entering, he was going, and then he is a great Indian, wonderful Indian scholar, and a great Kashmiri, and I mean proud Kashmiri, I can say. Besides, we have very one common thing, that we all belong to a particular place in Srinagar, Srinagari, that is Sathu. So I call him sometimes with great humor, but also with respect because he's a senior, that we both are Sathu boys. So let's invite my friend, my brother, and the brilliant scholar of our times to talk about this wonderful subject. Namaskar,
Namaskar,
sir.
Jagannathan. Namaskar.
You're you're welcome to Sheetal Nath Conversations 129th show. It's great. I feel so wondrous, so joyful to talk to you. It's always great. You are elevated. You are elated. I'm elated by your knowledge and your hard work. What you have done to research on your legacies, and you are welcome with great warmth and love to this show. First of all, to begin with, I would like to say, before we open up and join the chords and the points of this whole story from 1608 to finally 1937, and then later on, you are coming into this whole subject and the script. Let's go to your legacy first, because we have done a program on these personalities earlier. But now, since our context is that of a Don Quixote and its translations in Sanskrit, world's oldest language, the first novel by none other than your grandfather. Let's go to the legacy of your grandfather and his associate, Jagdar Jadusa.
Jugal, thank you very much. And at the outset, I must compliment you for the fact that today's subject, Don Quixote, some called it Quixote, some call it Quixote, some say Quixote, and the Spaniards themselves say Don Quixote.
Quixote.
But one fact is there. Let anybody speak any pronunciation of the word Don Quixote in any form. Nobody will confuse it for any other book.
Ah, that's the one.
That's the eminence and that's the fame this book has earned for more than 4 centuries now. But more than that, I'm personally delighted that you are the first person who is bringing the subject into public space for others to notice it. Let me be very candid in saying, till the year 2000, there is not a word written Don Quixote in any literature produced by native scholars and intellectuals from Kashmir, where they have mentioned or verbally said the word Don Quixote, Quixote, or whatever it is. In the written form, it never existed before 2000. I have an experience more than 25 years ago when I first talked about it. The man standing in front of me looked into me and he said, "Are you talking about some book? Are you talking about some name? What is it all about?" And he was one of the finest scholars of our times.
My goodness.
I'm
My
very
goodness.
prudent not to disclose the name,
Yeah.
but that's the reality. Secondly, I must also compliment that it's only after Don Quixote Kashmiri and Sanskrit translations have come into printed form. Our community has just begun to acknowledge their existence. For
That's
more
very
than
sad.
a century, to be precise, 90 years, these two translations or this scholarly enterprise undertaking never ever existed on the canvas of native literature.
That is the greatest dichotomy. Greatest dichotomy.
Now, you
Greatest tragedy.
ask me, I must talk about my legacy. It's a simple coincidence of fate that I happen to be the grandson of the person who has translated it. I have no qualifications to claim that I have done anything about Don Quixote. But the very fact I began from a position of some advantage
Yes.
when I could access the library collection of my grandfather subsequent to the death of my father as early as 1978. That's nearly 50 years, 49 years now.
50
So
years.
I was introduced to his papers, and that's how I came to know about the existence of Don Quixote. Now, if you see 1978 and till 2000, when it was announced to the world, I, in all humility, submit to state that for more than 20 years, I was the only person probably in the world, not only in Kashmir, to have known about the existence of these translations.
Oh,
For 20 years, they stayed in my mind, but they never came out of my mind what to do and how to do. Now that's this much for a general remark. Coming to my grandfather, he was the first native Kashmiri to have been appointed as a principal in Shri Pratap College, Srinagar. In 1916, he was born in 1874 and began his career as a Pathshala teacher. But it was to our good fortune that Maharaja Pratap Singh's law minister, who was a Chief Justice from Lahore High Court, Justice Kanwar Sen, spotted him and would interact with the scholar to spend his evening hours.
oh,
At some point, Justice Kanwar Sen left back to Punjab. He took leave of the Maharaja's service and returned to Punjab. But before returning, he made a recommendation to Maharaja Pratap Singh. Look here, you have an extremely talented genius in the high school, Pathshala, and you are wasting his talent. Take him out and give him some higher teaching responsibility. Just on one stroke of recommendation from Justice Kanwar Sen to Maharaja Pratap Singh, my grandfather one day slept as a teacher and woke up next day morning as a professor.
wonderful.
And from Pathshala, he was brought into the college and thus became the first native to become a professor. His other distinctions.
Very interesting.
In 1897, when Swami Vivekananda came to Kashmir, he had the good honor to meet Vivekananda along with so many other Kashmiri Pandits. 1902, Curzon came and he made a welcome address to Lord Curzon as Viceroy of India at the behest of Maharaja and made a welcome address. 1906, Lord Minto was the Viceroy. He inspected the Pathshala, and the man who welcomed him in the school again was my grandfather. 1912, Stein was knighted in Srinagar Palace, and he attended the knighthood and met Lord Harding of Penhurst. And lastly, he had the distinction of meeting Nobel laureate Rabindranath Tagore
Correct. Yeah.
when he
Gurudev.
visited in 1914 in Srinagar. So that's
You know,
what I
it is.
can say with a lot of pride and lot of humility, that there is something in destiny. It could be you, it could be anybody else to have carried that legacy. But it's matter of chance. I happen to be in the same lineage. That's how I'm talking about him. Nothing special otherwise
But
about him.
I think destiny sometimes, throws the geniuses in the front, and because there's a right time, it is time has ripened for that particular purpose. And I must tell you that the nobility in your thought process and in your endeavor and interactions we have, and the way you research and very cautiously planned everything, that somewhere down the line tells us about this legacy of your grandfather, how
I
noble
think,
he might have been. Yeah.
Jugal, you have exaggerated the
No,
introduction.
I'm not exaggerating. I tell you, it's my heartfelt
I
feeling.
told you I began from a position of advantage granted by fate.
It is an advantage.
Notwithstanding that, now let's
That's your
come to
gratitude.
Don
That's your
Quixote.
gratitude. That's your gratitude. Because if I would have been at your place, probably I would have not been saying the same thing. It's your gratitude to the destiny or to the, whatever, whosoever is there. Yeah.
Well, I accept your words in all humility. Coming to Don Quixote as a world classic, as you
Let's connect
already
it.
mentioned,
Yeah.
that it's one of the world's greatest books. In 2002, 100 esteemed and outstanding authors of world from 54 countries were constituted to identify 100 great books of the world. When they listed out the 100 great books, on top they mentioned and identified Don Quixote by Miguel de Cervantes Saavedra. His
Saavedra.
full name was Saavedra. Miguel de Cervantes Saavedra.
Saavedra. I never knew about this.
No, it's all right. For 400 years, ever since this book, part 1, was published in 1605, in December 1605, it has not come to rank 2, despite lakhs of books have been published throughout the world in 400 years. In 2006, 4 years later, Guardian London made a random survey of world's greatest books. And to their astonishment, they still found that Don Quixote is the most popular book of the world. It still stood at rank 1. Don Quixote is the world's most read, most translated book after Bible.
Yes, yes. That's something very unique.
And it's the only book in the world which has been translated into all languages, almost all languages of the world, which now come to be about nearly more than 1,000 languages.
More than 1,000.
At this point of time, it's translated in world's 1,000 languages, from the most colloquial tongue to the most formal and established languages like European languages, English, French, German, Portuguese, Galician, Russian, and whatnot, Mandarin, Manchurian, Icelandic, Japanese, Korean. You think of a language and you have Don Quixote in that language.
But I loved, since the day we talked about this conversation, I had heard about Don Quixote a lot, and probably we have read some small passages on it in the childhood, but I never knew anything about it. Since last 5 7 days, as I went through some kind of a notes and some articles, and then I listened to some professors. My goodness, I was in love of this character Don Quixote. It is literally a masterpiece, and it is everlasting. What I feel at my limited understanding and comprehension, I think this character will remain till the human, this consciousness, present consciousness prevails upon. Yeah.
You see, I'll still make a very qualifying statement about the uniqueness of this book through its translations. As I told you, that we have nearly 1,000 translations of this book in almost all the world languages, spoken, written, or whatever it is. Kashmiri and Sanskrit translations
Yes,
are the
that is the point.
only two translations of this book which have been prepared simultaneously in the same duration of time. And lo and behold, the translations have been made by the same two translators.
Jagdar
Tell
Jadu
me,
and
tell me another instance in world literature where
uh,
you know of a book translated in more than one language at the same time and by the same translator. So that puts these two translations in a class separate. I don't know till what time this uniqueness will stand in the annals of history of world literature.
no doubt, no doubt about it, no doubt about it. Because I was other day I was reading about that the Oxfordian businessman come scholar who was interesting, and how he was. I mean, it was like an impossible thing to ask anybody to get it translated into Sanskrit, because Sanskrit translation was conspicuous by its absence, and yet he thought that it's a very endearing thought.
We'll come to the story.
Yeah, yeah. Please, sir, please.
Now, it's a irony, it's a paradox, it's a intrigue. I can't really use the right word. Though Don Quixote was introduced to Kashmir 90 years ago by none other than Sir Orlstein to my grandfather, but till 2000, till I announced the existence of these translations, no Kashmiri ever knew about their existence.
That's unfortunate.
It's a paradox. It's an
It's a paradox.
unfortunate situation that
Tragic,
the
tragic.
world's greatest academic world scholarly work remained eclipsed and hidden within the people from whom someone translated it nearly 9 decades ago. That's an enigma. But anyway,
Enigma.
that's the reality. We have to accept it.
Yes.
Now, coming to these translations, I'll first say where the story begins, and then I will bring in a stream where I got to know about it and then how things progressed. The story doesn't begin when Stein asked my grandfather in 1935 to translate the work at the behest of his Harvard friend Carl Tilden Keller.
Keller.
Keller was a professional chartered accountant.
Oh, I see.
He was a book collector, but he was also probably the greatest champion on the promotion and legacy of Don Quixote. Keller was the founding manager of Librand Ross Company, which was an accounting firm which opened in Boston in the year 1915.
Yes.
In 1957, this Librand Ross company of Keller got merged with Cooper's, a British accounting firm, and became Cooper Ross. In 1998, it got assimilated into Price Waterhouse, the world's largest accounting firm, an international accounting firm. But the founder manager of this accounting company was Carl Tilden Keller,
Yellow.
the famous book collector. His academic interests were so strong that
Passion.
Keller also became the vice chairman of the Harvard Board of Education and Harvard Yenching Trust, which supported Stein's expedition in Trans-Iranian Jordan in 1930s, because he did not get funding from Government of India. It was Keller's Boston facility which extended him funds to explore Jordan, Iran, and Iraq borders. Now, fate intervened. They did not know each other. By 1924, Stein had become a legend after doing Rajtarangni as a Sanskritist and having explored Central Asia like anything. The most qualified and the most profound archaeologist of his era, who discovered and explored the entire Central Asian topography. In 1924, Stein happened to be in England, and being highly decorated, knighted, extraordinary scholar with 3 PhDs, 1 DSc from Oxford, Cambridge, and London.
Oxford, my goodness.
He earned his DSc, postdoctoral qualifications, simultaneously from the University of London, University of Cambridge, and University of Oxford. And he was mere 26. He was no older than 26 years. Anyway, that's a part story. It so happened that he was invited to a tea party in London, which was hosted by a travel scholar, a travel agent, travel diarist, L.R. Sykes. Sykes happened to be a great friend of Keller. So he had invited Keller also to the tea party, where Stein was also invited. So Keller and Stein had first encounter of friendship in L.R. Sykes' tea party in 1924 summer. It was there that Keller struck a friendship which lasted their lifetime, and a correspondence which also ended in Stein's death, because Stein died in 1943, Keller passed away in 1958. So they remained in contact. It was in this London meeting that Keller expressed his keen desires about obtaining translations of Don Quixote. The matter stood there, nothing further moved. In 1930, Stein was invited by Harvard University to deliver a series of lectures under the aegis of Fogg Museum Trust about his explorations, which were paid lectures. And Keller was on the board of the Harvard Yenching Trust, which had sponsored these lectures. So it gave Stein money to fund his expedition in Iran, Iraq, and also became more friendly with Keller. It was there again that Keller touched about these Don Quixote translations and told him his passion about collecting all translations wherever they are available in the world, whether in manuscript form or in printed editions. Matter stood there because Stein was too occupied with explorations.
Yeah, Stein was
On,
very busy man,
on 6th
archaeologist.
April, on 6th April 1935, when Stein was again in England, Keller wrote him a letter. Do I not sound very childish in wanting to know if you could not provide me or help me in obtaining translations of Don Quixote in Sanskrit, in Pali, or Kashmiri?
Oh,
Since
wow.
you have such keen contacts with the Kashmiri scholars, would you put me across to somebody with whom I can enter into correspondence and then seek that what the modalities get developed, and anyone you recommend, I'll follow him. It was 6th April 1935. On 3rd May 1935, Stein replies to Keller, says, look here, I'm too happy that you are wanting to widen the net of your Don Quixote collections. It's quite remarkable, and I'm all for you. But I'm afraid all those who I knew while I was doing translation of Rajtarangi before moving to Central Asia, most of my Kashmiri correspondents who helped me in my Sanskrit studies have since passed away. Of course, there is only one, my old Pandit friend, Professor Nityanand, who is competent to understand the humor and satire, and let me inquire. But the fact also remains that I learned that Professor Nityanand is down with a stroke. He had
Down with that?
suffered a paralytic stroke.
Oh, I see.
And let me inquire and find out if he would be competent and capable to take this engagement himself, or at least I can hope to ask him to recommend somebody to whom he can request and your translations can be obtained. Now Stein, not sure himself at the time, he was in Iran, in Kermanshah, exploring Trans-Iranian Jordan border. Stein wrote to my father to inquire about the health of my grandfather. Only then, if he is physically able to do it, then only he thought I'll ask him to do the translation. But he told Keller that if there is anyone to understand this unique work for its humor, for its satire, and to do justice and make a worthwhile translation, there is nobody in Kashmir who can do it. So Stein writes to my father, Gopinath, on 5th July 1935, and inquires about his health. My father informs him that he is improved, but wanting to be sure that Nityanand's health has recovered to the extent that he will be able to physically undertake this critical job, he inquired it from Dr. Norman Macpherson, who was Stein's personal physician in Kashmir, and had recommended Macpherson to also see my grandfather and treat him. So Macpherson was treating my grandfather for his paralytic stroke. So he inquired from Macpherson to be medically sure that Nityananda is good enough physically or has recovered to undertake the translation.
What was his age at that time, Professor Nityanand Shastri, your grandfather's age?
Nityanand Shastri was born in 1874. He
80.
suffered stroke in 1932 and suffered the consequences of it till he died in December 1942.
Oh,
For about 7 or 8 years, he was stricken to the bed. He could not move. At the same time, Stein wrote to Keller, I am told that Nityananda has recovered sufficiently to undertake the translation. But early next month, that was sometime in 36, I am going to Kashmir and I'll find out personally. And in the meantime, you send me across the book in English from which you would want the translations. Because
yes.
Don Quixote was translated by dozens of scholars into English.
Classical and the modern,
most
both.
of the European languages. So Keller sent him an 18th century English translation
Charles
written
Jervis?
by Charles Jarvis.
Jarvis is the right one.
His actual name is Charles Jervas.
Jervas.
But once in a printed book, the name got printed as Jarvis.
So it became Jarvis.
He became Jarvis for the entire world. Otherwise, if you see some of his books, his original name is Charles Jarvis.
Jarvis. Okay.
So it was the wrong spelled printing which gave him the renewed name and which became the popular name as Jarvis.
Keller had a great faith in this translation, and probably he might have been one of the best translators considered in those times, in English
Keller
especially.
himself was not a translator. Keller
No,
only
I'm talking about the this man. What do you call him?
Jarvis. Yes, Jarvis was Fritz Morris was an exceptional English translator. John Phillips, nephew of John Milton, translated. But surprisingly, John Phillips' English translation is considered to be one of the poorest translations of Don Quixote in English. But in history, Phillips' translation does exist. Between 18th, 17th and 18th century, most of Don Quixote was translated in almost all European and other languages, from Iceland to Norway to
Italian.
Slovakia,
Italian was happening in
Russian,
earliest. Italian,
Japanese,
French. Yeah.
everything Italian, all those were translated. So Keller sent the book to Stein and told him that I will shortly go myself to meet Pandit Nityanand and deliver this book to him and find personally if he is up to the task.
Oh.
On 13th October 1935, Stein wrote this information to Keller. 3 days later, on 16th October 1935, Stein visits my grandfather, but with a letter in his hand, giving all the details what he wants. And in the meantime, Stein also asked Keller, tell me the portions and parts which you think are suitable for the translation. And those I will mark and give it to Pandit Nityanand. So it was Stein who selected the chapters which need to be translated, not Keller.
Oh.
So Stein gave it to my grandfather and asked him to reply back to me if you are up to the task, or else return me the book or else recommend me somebody you think proper and competent to do the job. Given my grandfather's relation with Stein, he could never say no to him. He agreed. Now Stein wondered, Nityanand is paralyzed, he cannot hold the pen, he is bedridden. How can be it that he will make a translation? Stein suggested to my grandfather that your son, that's my father, Gopinath, he would take dictations from you and write down the manuscript. Are you hearing me?
Yes. That is
So this was
very,
the
very
first arrangement.
wonderful story. Wonderful
This
story.
was
Wonderful.
the first arrangement, how the translations would be executed by my
Execution.
grandfather, even though he was paralytic. So he would make a dictation and tell to his son, and my father would write it down. But for some reasons unknown to me, my father never became an amanuensis, that is the writing assistant for my grandfather to take the dictation. I have no clues to it, nor there are any clues in any correspondence. Even though Stein suggested to Keller, I know help will be needed, and Pandit Nityanand's son will take the dictations.
No.
My father had an excellent handwriting, both in English and in Sanskrit. He was a merit scholarship holder of Sanskrit in SP College. But why he didn't make the manuscript, I have no knowledge about.
That's a mystery.
Next, my grandfather obviously seems to have made arrangement with Professor Jagdar Zadu. Now, Jagdar Zadu was a junior Sanskrit scholar to my grandfather. When my grandfather retired from SP College in 1931, Jagdar Zadu replaced him as professor of Sanskrit at SP College.
Oh, I see.
That was one part of the relationship between the two, that he occupied his chair as professor of Sanskrit after my grandfather Nityananda had superannuated. The second stronger bond between the two was that Jagdar's eldest daughter, Dhanvati, was married to second son of Nityanand, my uncle, Jankinath Pandita.
Oh, I see. So relationship.
Jagdar की बेटी मेरी चाची थी, पेचन.
Oh,
Dhanvati married to my uncle
Dhanvati.
Jankinath. So the
Old-
marriage was professional, scholarly, and family connection through matrimonial alliance.
emotional
Now,
as well.
what happened between my grandfather and Jagdar? They combined, since Jagdar was also an extraordinarily competent Sanskrit scholar. My grandfather, as a senior, as a superior, as a main translator,
He must have worked. Did Jagdar
they
work
worked
under the
together
tutelage?
produced the translations.
Did Jagdar work under the tutelage of your Nityanand, Professor Nityanand Shastri?
Yes. It
So
was
apprentice-
advised by him, it was dictated by him, it was corrected by him, but all the writing work was undertaken by Professor Jagdar.
Oh,
So
that's
the
so.
original manuscripts, the Sanskrit manuscript as well as the Kashmiri manuscript, are both in the handwriting of Professor Jagdar Zadu, not my grandfather. Though he dictated how to make translations and what to do. Now there is another element of surprise which
What's
your
it?
viewers might get interested. If the main translator was paralyzed and could not write himself, but he wrote scores of letters to Stein in connection with these translations when they were under preparation. How is it possible?
How is it possible?
If
I,
the person cannot hold pen in his writing hand,
huh.
he is paralyzed, but
How did it?
has communicated scores of letters and sent him to Oxford, to Harvard, and Stein received these letters from Nityanand, from where we built all this history. It was amazing. Jugal, when these letters came out,
Huh.
it was a shocking pleasure to me that all the letters my grandfather had written to Stein in connection with the translation were written and are written in the handwriting of my father.
Oh, I see. So they were similar. So similar. I mean, it must have been some, yeah, similarity as well between their writings.
Not
No,
similarity of handwriting. He had no option. Call his son. Sit here, take the
and right.
dictation. I have to write a letter to Stein.
Oh my goodness.
So
You can
my
see. You
grandfather
can see
dictated these letters
what a
of
personality.
exchanging their opinions and views on this translation progress, what to do, how to do, what not to do. So he kept dictating. My father kept on writing, and letters went to Harvard, letters went to Oxford. Each time Stein received these letters in Oxford, he would simply pass on the original letter to Keller in Boston. So ultimately, when this cache of correspondence came to light, they were discovered. All these letters written by my grandfather to Stein in my father's handwriting were in the Houghton archives, where
Oh,
Keller had made his deposits about Don Quixote translations as well as the connected papers. Whether they were letters from Stein, or they were letters from Jagdar, or they were letters from my grandfather.
oh,
Now, another curious thing in this
treasure trove,
story,
treasure trove.
Jagdar and my grandfather, Nityanand, they never ever corresponded directly with Keller. The
Oh,
intermediary was always Stein, wherever he was. Now, there is another shocking coincidence. The first time Stein made request for the Sanskrit and Kashmiri translations was in a letter he wrote to my grandfather on 16th October 1935. And when the translations were completed, the Kashmiri translation and Sanskrit, first the Sanskrit translation. I'll tell you
Sanskrit was.
why it was later sent back. Stein received the Kashmiri translation written in Professor Jagdar's hand on exactly 1 year to date in Ahvaz, Iran, on October 16, 1936.
Oh,
The request
what
was
a
made on October 16, 1935, and the translations were in hand of Stein in Ahvaz on October 16,
1936.
1936. Now you
Oh,
will ask me, how do you know it? This small annotation on a separate piece of paper is part of the original manuscripts which were lying unseen, unheard, neglected on the shelves of Harvard University.
Houghton.
So the translation in Kashmiri and Sanskrit were completed sometimes by middle of September 1936. In mere 11 months' time. Two
Both these.
translations, same translators, and together. Now, Kashmiri translation was done on a college notebook paper, but it was written very legibly and in extremely legible Hindi handwriting by Professor
Devanagari.
Jagdar. Stein liked the translation so much that it's written so legibly and neatly and without any cuttings or errors. He simply dispatched it to Keller at Boston. But the Sanskrit translation, Stein was little disappointed. He saw the translation also written on ruled paper on a college notebook, and he didn't like the physical appearance of the translation.
Okay.
Sent it back from Avas and wrote a letter to Jagdar Zadu that, look here, get it done by a calligraphist in a Eastern style so that it gives the beautiful look of an Eastern Sanskrit manuscript from Kashmir. This
Wonderful.
doesn't
Wonderful.
suit.
Stein,
A
my
very
goodness,
tiny
Stein.
pen and on a college notebook. It didn't appeal him. So the Sanskrit manuscript was sent back to Kashmir for a calligraphic copy, for which Stein gave instructions. What margin should be left, what should be the width of the two lines, and
Format.
how you should align, and with all those instructions. Now, once these instructions came, Jagdar said to him, he complained to my grandfather, look here, there is no possibility of obtaining handmade Kashmiri paper. The art has since died. What do I do? And Stein wants it in on Kashmiri paper. Yat Kashmir is the Dag Kakut.
Dagakap.
Dag Kakut.
What was it like? What was it like? It was
Cellulose, cloth,
okay.
pounded, and then mixed with this, what you call cellulose paste, a sugary paste, and spread it. By some queer chance, there was a Pandit Brahman who had some scrolls, sheets of Dagakakut with him for probably making horoscopes. And Jagdar purchased about 180 sheets from him and asked the calligraphist to make a clean copy. This clean copy was sent back to Stein, and who forwarded it? At that time, Stein was exploring Soldus in Uzbekistan.
Uzbekistan.
Soldus was the place in Uzbekistan, and once he received, he dispatched it to Boston. The manuscript, Sanskrit manuscript, was received sometime by April 1937. Because after the original was prepared, its calligraphic copy took some time. It was again sent to Oxford. Then from Oxford, by a detour, it was sent to Boston under Stein's instruction, since he himself was in field in Soldus. So it had a long detour. But the worst thing is, the original Sanskrit manuscript written by Professor Jagdar has never ever been recovered.
Has never ever
been recovered. Once Stein sent back to Jagdar and a calligraphic copy was produced and sent to Boston for Keller's collection, the original from which the copy was prepared by a professional calligraphist, the original has never been recovered. What fate it met, I am not aware. Nobody is aware in our family. There are no clues as far as I know from Jagdar Zadu's descendants also. We don't know where the original manuscript went.
But calligraphy, it must be Jagdar Zadu only who gave it for the calligraphy. Yeah, because
calligraphic copy was received and sent to Keller. what is lying in Harvard is the calligraphic copy,
Oh,
not Jagdar's original copy, from which this calligraphic copy was
that's a
made.
great revelation. Again, another.
So, but as far as the Kashmiri translation is concerned, the original in Jagdar's hand, Keller never returned to make a printed copy of it or a calligraphic copy of it. He liked it so much, written in Professor Jagdar's beautiful Hindi handwriting. He
Oh, I see.
told Stein, I will send you a photographic reprint of the manuscript, which should be more convenient for the printer or a calligraphist to deal with, because it's a tougher paper. And I have liked it so much and I don't want to part with it now. He was fascinated by Kashmiri manuscript. You got me?
So it remained there for a period of 100 years and survived.
90 years it survived on the shelves of, originally the library was called as Widener Library.
Whitened.
But in 55, this library, possibly 55, 56, it came to be known by the new name, Houghton Library. Because Houghton probably gave the funds for a bigger library and making a new building. So Widener was wound up and the library became Houghton.
Yes.
Got it?
Yeah.
Now, how did, after these translations were sent to Boston and were kept in Keller's personal collection, by 1936, Keller had 500 translations and printed editions of Don Quixote.
By
And
1936.
by
By 1936.
1936, he had 500 translations. And in June 1936, he wrote a letter to Stein. Look here, just today I received 35 more additions to my collection. They were from Poland, Warsaw, and they were from Barcelona in France. 30 editions came to me today, and my collection has touched the number 500. I should have celebrated the occasion by marking it with a good drink, and I should have got drunk. But you know, I don't drink. So the day has passed quietly without any celebrations to mark.
Oh, wonderful.
By 1943 till 1935, Keller did not have Sanskrit and Kashmiri translations, which he got prepared through Stein's help, and ultimately the translations were with him. Now, the Kashmiri photographic copy was sent back to Kashmir with the intention that it will be printed for the benefit of the philologists like Sir George Grierson, who would be delighted to read a Kashmiri work in print form. And Europe doesn't have access to many printed works in Kashmiri. So Kashmiri has a philological interest. But as far as Sanskrit edition is concerned, it will be mostly read in India. But people in general will want it to read in English, because not many people have interest to read in Sanskrit. So there may not be a very dire need of printing the Sanskrit manuscript, but Kashmiri needs to be printed.
Okay.
So Stein wrote to my grandfather that if 100 copies are to be printed, what will be the cost of printing? And also what will be the font type in which it will be printed, so that Keller likes the type. So Jagdar informed him that there are only 2 printers in Srinagar who can do this, and I am sending you the specimens but it would be better if it is done under your supervision. So he asked Stein that अब कुछ गलत वलत तो हो जाए, आपको अच्छा न लगे, Keller को अच्छा न लगे, बाद में पैसा जाया हो जाएगा, it will be bad. So it's better you get them printed when you revisit Kashmir. Stein visited in 1938 and then wrote a couple of letters to my grandfather that I'm so grateful to you, this and that, and kept on briefing Keller also. Now, the translations reached Keller and remained in his personal collection till 1943, when he had no space to hold the entire collection in his small house at 80 Brimner Street in Boston.
Oh.
And he called his house, his home, as Tinderbox. So in 1943 April, he wrote to Stein that next Thursday, it was after 2 or 3 days of his writing letter, that I am planning to send them to Widener Library in Harvard. But I have decided only to send 500 manuscripts. I still retain 200 with me. And among us, those 200 are the prized Kashmiri and Sanskrit translations, which I am not parting with.
Oh.
So he was so enamored to retain the Kashmiri and Sanskrit translations, though sending 500 other copies to Harvard University.
I wanted to ask one thing, Tarjunji.
Yes,
Small interjection. One thing is
you
that
are welcome anytime.
it's
a long story.
Yeah, it's beautiful. You are discussing it so threadbare and photogenically, which I think which nobody else can especially tell, and reveal so many, unfold so many truths. But what I wanted to say, Keller's passion for John Quixote, Keller's, because it is only the passion of getting it translated. First of all, he might have been enamored by this great classic of early.
The greatest champion of popularization of Don Quixote in the 20th century world was none other than Carl Tilden Keller.
But why?
He was simply enamored
With the.
He had, as I told you, he had tremendous academic interests, but he was not an academician.
Non-formal.
He had a lot of interest in archaeology. He had a lot of interest in history. He had a lot of interest in literature. He was a voracious reader.
Oh.
So it was from his passion. And then, in one of the letters, Keller, when he asked for these two translations, he told Stein that my childish desire is meanish also. And you must know, a book collector is a mean person, because he thinks he alone should have a particular translation and nobody else should have it. That was his psyche, that I should be a distinct man in the world who can claim, except for me, nobody has it.
A personality like Keller, living so far from India, and his, this importance of translations being Sanskrit, I can understand, because Sanskrit is something which could lift this entire, translations into especially the southeastern countries. But Kashmiri, was it the communication between Orlstein and the Keller, and his understanding about this part of the geography, Kashmir, and its language translation.
As I told you, Keller was passionate to collect all possible editions and translations of this book. And this made him to ask time, since you have such close contacts among Kashmiri scholars, why don't
Yes,
you help me getting these two exotic translations?
that's so wonderful. Yeah, the
So
original script. It is said that I don't know the how many are the pages. It is said that it's around 1,000 pages or so. And what was the
Don Quixote is a book spread over 126 chapters, comprising more than 1,000 pages.
1,000 pages, and the
Now,
translation.
here I must, depending whether the translation is complete or part.
Okay,
Now I'll give a little some tidbits about the writer Miguel Cervantes.
Sarvante, kya baat hai.
Cervantes did not have a school education even. He was a mere soldier, a cavalier, an eccentric Marvick who dreamt funny things in his mind
And
and
he
who
also
had
had
a
some
keen.
Turkish Islamic invaders had tortured him also somewhere.
Because he was taken as a prisoner of war and all that, he escaped from there, lost his hand, lost his one leg, he became lame, but continued. Keller, we don't know the exact date of birth of Miguel Cervantes, nor we know the place where his remains were interned into the grave. When he wrote Don Quixote, he was 58.
He died in 59.
No, he died in 1616, April 4, 1616.
But 1615 was the second edition he completed, no? 1615.
I'll come to that. He wrote the first volume, which became a sensation throughout the world, and all kinds of pirated editions and translations came about. The popularity of Don Quixote became so universal that another Spaniard by the name Alonso Fernandez Alavenda
Alavenda.
made a pirated second volume of Don Quixote in 1614.
Pirated.
So, taking the threads from volume 1, he created a pirated edition in 1614, 2 years before Miguel Cervantes' death. He created a pirated edition. It perhaps injured or inspired or whatever it may have been to Cervantes, that Cervantes completed the second volume by December 1615, after 10 years. And it came out in January 1616. April 6, 1660, a couple of months later, Cervantes died.
It was the same year Shakespeare
And
died.
1 day later,
Yeah.
another great literature of the world class, William Shakespeare, also passed away. So
On the
in
same
a
year,
week's
same month.
time, in a week's time, in matter of 2 days, in a single
Numerology.
week, world lost two of the greatest writers of all times,
Yes.
Shakespeare and Cervantes Saavedra.
Foundation of the Western literature who made, yeah.
If you ask me, of course, you mentioned in your introductory remarks, Sanskrit translation is the greatest contribution of Kashmir to Western literature.
Yes.
Coming to Kashmiri translation, it's the greatest international recognition to Kashmiri language written
Right.
in Devanagari script. Today, the Muslim Kashmiris contest that Nastaliq or the Perso-Arabic is Devanagari is secondary and should not be. But what a reality is and how contradictory it is to the opinion held by Kashmiri Muslims that it's the Devanagari script for the Kashmiri language which has
apropos.
earned the language its greatest international recognition in these translations, in this
And
translation,
and
not
as
in
a
Nastaliq,
and the
not in
linguistic,
Nastaliq.
not in Nastaliq, and the English dialect, its diction, the sense of translating a classic like John Don Quixote in Kashmiri. I think besides translation, it also required the great depth and skills of the Kashmiri language. At that point of time, Kashmiri words, Kashmiri dictionary, and for that matter, grammar and syntax to present it in this almost similar way. The insights get kind of a they are a bit adoptable into that language. So what I'm asking you, sir, you have been witness to Kashmiri manuscript and Kashmiri, which is now published later, of written by this your grandfather and Jagdar Jadu. I want to ask, what was the word? What were the vocabulary? I'm really interested to know how did they translate it into Kashmiri? I mean, such a great classic, another language, second generation translation from English, not from
Yugal,
Spanish.
Yugalji,
Spanish,
I'll come to
yeah,
you, but I'll give a background perspective before I answer your
right, sir,
question.
right, sir, right.
After I inherited my grandfather's collection, following the death of my father in 1978,
Hmm.
these
No.
letters and papers came to my awareness but remained there till 1997 when a small article was published on my grandfather, Pandit Nityanand, the man and scholar. While all the inputs for the article were given by me and my uncle Jankinath Pandita when it was sent for printing and publication, there was no acknowledgement of these facts in the article.
Hmm.
That what is the source of these informations, where I had first indicated to the existence of these two translations. Subsequently, a profile in the same magazine, same newsletter was published, profiling Professor Jagdar Zadu as the Titan of Scholar.
Hmm.
Again, there was a mention that Jagdar has translated, helped my grandfather in translating these, making these two translations of Don Quixote. Again, the community ignored it. There was no response from any quarter, though at that point of time, everybody was praised for that little Kashmiri journal, in-house journal,
and we
Unmesh,
had and we had great
Unmesh,
English. We had great English,
Unmesh,
Umesh. We had
Unmesh.
great English professors to recognize the Don Quixote, who must have been knowing Don Quixote, and such a great
They
work,
must
an
have been, they
accomplished work.
must have been on, but there was no response, nobody.
That's
Then
hypocrisy.
I published another article in 2001 in the Journal of Himalayan Cultural, in the Himalayan Foundation, a cultural journal they had. I don't remember the exact name.
Okay.
It was published from JNU and it was a UNESCO acknowledged publication where I talked about interface between Western and Kashmiri scholars and also made mention about Don Quixote translations in Sanskrit. But again, no scholar, no one in the community took any notice of it and matter rested there. But there are more serious scholars who will not ignore something which is very important. In 2002, I published my first book, Western Indologists and Sanskrit Savants of Kashmir, where again I wrote a small chapter of about 14-16 pages narrating the gross high points of these two translations and showed the picture of the manuscript also. This book Some of the copies might have gone to Europe. And at the University of Marburg, an Indologist by the name
Primitive.
Professor Stanislaw Jagger,
Stanislaw Chad.
he took serious note on the existence of these two translations, unknown, lying in Harvard. He went from Marburg to Harvard in 2011 and physically located the two translations. He brought a digital copy of the Sanskrit manuscript to Marburg in 2012.
12.
From 2012 to 2017, this manuscript was recognized probably the best manuscript of Don Quixote in any Indian language. Bengali, Punjabi, Gujarati, whatever it is. Probably the best translation in any Indian language. And they made it a part of the course curriculum for graduate students studying Sanskrit translation of Don Quixote. The faculty participated in these courseworks, and students also learned, competed, qualified their exams, and it happened for next 5-6 years from 2012 to 2017. In between, another professor of Marburg University related this story in very brief manner in his book To Edit or Not to Edit, and narrated the existence of Sanskrit translation of Don Quixote in his book, citing reference to my little articles which had given clue to Stanislaw Jagger to fetch the manuscript from Harvard. Once this was done, there was another professor at Marburg by the name Professor Dragomir Dimitrov, whose name you mentioned.
Dimitrov, yeah.
If today we have the printed editions of Sanskrit and Kashmiri translations of Don Quixote, one single man to whom the entire community stays in unrepayable debt of gratitude is Dragomir Dimitrov. Dimitrov decided in 2017 that I will make a proper printed edition of Sanskrit translation. He is a Sanskrit scholar, Indologist, and a Tibecologist also. So he undertook the task. But a keen scholar will not simply go by a mere translation. He got into the entire correspondence at Oxford, at Harvard, and contacted me in 2017 December and asked me, can you share with me correspondence between your grandfather and Stein with regard to Don Quixote translations?
Why? Oh, you can look at this depth of the personality and his intent.
For next 2 years, Dragomir and myself exchanged more than 400 to 500 emails weaving the story of these translations. Some parts he knew from the correspondence lying at Oxford and Harvard, but some parts of it stayed in my private archive because those letters were with me. So he weaved the fabric of the history of these translations in an extraordinary introduction to the Sanskrit translation in more than 112 pages.
I read somewhere that he has said that this is one of the finest possible translation.
I told you while they were studying the translation, the faculty of Indology at Marburg came to the conclusion that Sanskrit translation is by far the best translation of Don Quixote among us all the Indian languages in which it has been translated.
And this is a Sanskrit scholar himself saying that.
Sanskrit translation. Now, between 2017 and 2019, Professor Dragomir and I exchanged, as I told you, anything between 400 to 500 emails,
Oh,
which I have preserved in my archives for somebody to see after I'm gone, to dig into the history of how these translations came about. So, at each place, he shared with me the draft portions of the edited translation. In 2019, the translation was accepted under Pune Indological Series as a collaboration between University of Marburg and Savitribai Phule University, Pune, and published in July or August 2019.
19.
The Sanskrit edition was released by the Spanish Embassy in India, New Delhi, at Instituto Cervantes by Dr. Karan Singh and the Spanish ambassador in India.
Yes, we'll have the photo tour. We'll just have those photographs as well. Yeah.
So the English translation came in the Sanskrit translation appeared in 2019. Now, the Kashmiri translation, since we were corresponding with each other, Dragomir asked for me that recommend me somebody who is competent to make a printed edition of this work. And we zeroed down on a scholar among us, our community, and entrusted the task to him to prepare a printed edition of Kashmiri version.
It was Kachru ji? Kachru? Umakat
I
Kachru?
will not name. I will not
Okay.
name.
No issues.
It's 2017
Okay.
that the entire manuscript was made available, and he was asked to prepare its printed edition. Nothing worked till 2023 December. It became frustrating to pursue the matter, to ask repeatedly, do it, no response came. And Professor Dragomir got so much disappointed. He said, leave the printed edition for a while. Let's prepare
Digital.
the facsimile edition of the Kashmiri translation. So he put the facsimile edition into the book along with Jarvis's English translation and prepared a facsimile edition. Now let me take the opportunity to show you the Sanskrit edition of Don Quixote for your viewers.
Beautiful. Wow. Wonderful,
I
sir.
hope you can read it.
Yes, Don Quixote.
It's readable.
Yeah, the title is readable and other things all as well. I mean, this is a salutation.
Translated into English, into Sanskrit by Nityanand Shastri and Jagdar Zadu from the reprint of English translation prepared by Charles
Jarvis.
Now, this was the first child born from these translations, 2 translations. And this was the maroon, red, golden cover.
Yeah.
This was the inner yellowish
hard book,
mustard.
Yeah.
So it was published by Pune University under Pune Indological Series. Then came the facsimile edition. This is Jarvis's English translation. This is the equivalent Kashmiri translation.
My goodness.
In Professor Jagdar's handwriting.
And it is in Devanagari? Yeah.
It's in Devanagari.
Okay. So, I mean, it will be a great book to read, because a person like me who's very much interested to have the comparison between the translations in English and the Kashmiri, it will be.
Now
Yeah.
here lies some beauty, the brainchild of which was Professor Dragomir and me. We said both the translations are now at least in book form. One is in facsimile, other is in printed form. Let us think they are twins. So it was decided that the book will look alike externally.
Wonderful.
No change. Deep maroon, golden imprint, and the same yellow ochre mustard cover.
That's a tribute to the great Kashmiri scholars.
And the same opening page.
Written in Devanagari and Roman.
So
Yeah.
on physical appearance, these two translations in their bound form look as if they are same books. I can hold it for you. These are the two books.
Oh, wonderful.
Nobody externally can say there are two books and two translations.
They're available on Amazon?
No, it's available only in scholarly circles. I can get you the copies from Pune University.
I will be grateful. I'll be grateful.
That's my promise to you, I'll get you.
I'll be grateful.
Now, during the time Dragomir and I were consulting each other, and I was just contributing small bits and bits which I knew from my grandfather's papers. This is the complete Harvard manuscript copy.
Oh, wow.
You have the original picture of the calligraphic copy.
Calligraphic
It's the
copy?
copy of that same thing which I have taken from a photostatic version.
Okay.
But this is the calligraphic copy.
Wonderful. My goodness. Beautiful.
Now, here is the beautiful Jagdar's handwriting, minuscule handwriting, and the Kashmiri manuscript.
आख पैराग्राफ पढ़ता हूँ, आख पैराग्राफ मैंने खतर पढ़ता हूँ, आख पैराग्राफ मुझे बड़ा तमन्ना है पढ़ने का जॉन क्विक्सोट कश्मीरी में क्या लिखा होगा जगदीश साहब.
Now, this is, it was gifted to me by the Dragomir.
Thomas. Beautiful.
And
Ajay, he is
gifted to me in 2017. This is the end paper of the original manuscript. The original looks in peacock green color.
Okay. Wonderful. Beautiful.
And here is the acknowledgement of Carl T. Keller in 1943 when he sent it to Harvard University.
Oh, wow. Houghton Library.
I hope you are able to see it.
Yes. I can see Keller's name and the year written there on.
And here is the same imprint for the Sanskrit edition in Harvard Library, donated by Carl Keller family.
The Keller Fund.
And the people are Jasper Newton Keller, Betty Scott Henshaw Keller, Marian Mendel Keller, Ralph Henshaw Keller, and Carl Tilden Keller. So it's a bequeath Harvard Archives. Sanskrit translation done by Kashmiri Pandit.
Beautiful. And Pandita Sahab, This,
Huh.
apart from the elitist, the first line uh, scholars, Western scholars, who burned the midnight oils, and they had their geniuses, they had the support. They created these wonder Sanskrit literatures. I don't know how was it treated. These translations, how were they treated in those times? After the Keller, got them onto the shelves of the Horton Library. But what about the Indian, the Oriental? What about the Oriental scene? Let us leave Kashmir aside. About its Sanskrit translation, because I think Hindi translation happened much later, and after Hindi translation, it went to the Gujarati translation, and
Gujarati, sorry, Jugal, Gujarati was the first translation made in Indian language, 1882,
18 from English translation.
from English translation.
Okay.
There was yet another Kashmiri Pandit
Huh.
who translated Don Quixote as early as 1818, but in
My God.
Urdu,
In Urdu.
Ratan Nag Dar Sarshar from
अच्छा,
Lucknow.
अरे yes, yes, is a very prominent personality. उनको कौन नहीं जानता.
And he titled it Khudai Mukhtar. He
खुदाई
didn't
मुख्तार.
title, self-titled knight, which Don Quixote character was, Maskar, Lady Shah. But he did. He was the first Kashmiri Pandit to translate it into Urdu
Oh,
more than 50 years ago, before these two Pandits did it in Kashmiri and Sanskrit.
so a great contribution.
In fact, the beginning of these two translations originates from Keller's request to Stein. Now that you have so much of contact with Indian publishing houses, can you fetch me an Indian translation? I know from British Museum catalogue that a Gujarati version exists, and you help me. So Stein told him, life of books in India is very limited. I don't think after 50 years this edition or this print would be available. But still I know a friend who is a well-known printer in Bombay, Tarapur Wale. I'll inquire from them if they can procure a translation in Gujarati. And ultimately, Stein went to field work. Keller started corresponding with Tarapur Wale. And one day, Tarapur Wale sent him the Gujarati translation made by some Parsi by the name Karnani. And it was illustrated with pictures of the characters like cartoons.
Cartoons, yeah.
And then Keller joked with Stein, telling him that I had asked you for the translations, but it's now me telling you I have already procured it.
Oh.
Because he contacted Tarapur Wale then directly. Because Stein went to explorations, he could not follow up with the publishers. Now, here is Jagdar's beautiful letter, which he had written to my grandfather, telling him that under your instruction and supervisor, I am forwarding this Kashmiri translation to Sir Oral Stein. And Stein kept it along with the translation and sent it to Keller. And finally, this letter is now in Harvard archives.
Oh, this is letter from
Jagdar Zadu to
Jagdar
my
Zadu.
grandfather, forwarding the translation and asking him, please now dispatch it to
the Stein.
Not to Keller.
To Stein.
My Professor Nityanand and Professor Jagdar Zadu had no direct correspondence with Keller at any point of time. Everything passed through Stein. And whatever
Interlocutor.
Keller communicated, it came to these two pundits via Stein.
Oh.
Stein was the pivotal point.
I wonder if Stan would not have been there, what would have been the fate of so many other things, especially also about these Don
Pundits
Quixote.
would have had no legacy,
Uh,
no culture, no history, no treasures.
no treasures. All forgotten, dead.
All we owe an unrepayable debt to Stein.
Such a
But
great
for
person.
Stein, our heritage, our culture, our history, our legacy would have been void and blank.
उस 25वें जन्म शायद ओस्मुत बटकोटे he used to say also, no, कहीं बताया भी है, especially he is while a praise for your grandfather, a special praise for your grandfather, and also somewhere somebody had told him or he himself admits that I would have been probably a Kashmiri Pandit in the previous life. Yeah, what was it exactly?
It's my compliment in my book given to Stein that
Okay.
Stein would have been a Pandit in his previous birth. He was a reincarnated Kashmiri Brahmin.
Kashmiri Brahmin. Wow. That's so
It's
wonderful.
my compliment to him in one of my books.
Salutation to his
Now,
excellence. Yeah.
if it were not my indications, and fortunately I could have access to those records that these two translations exist, today there would have been no printed editions or these translations located by anyone in the world. They
And
were
your
just
location,
forgotten.
your location, actually everything changed after you came into the picture, and in
In
2002.
2002,
And
when
if
I published a detailed chapter on
article,
Kashmiri and Sanskrit translation of Don Quixote in my book, which the Germans took seriously, but no native scholar gave a damn to it, and with the result, Stanislav Jager went to Harvard and picked up the translations in 2011 and asked for a digital copy in 2012. Studied them for 5 years. When Dragomir appeared on the scene, corresponded with me, and the whole journey began.
should we have a photo tour, a bit of photo tour, and then
I
further?
want to make last closing remarks before you take a photo shoot. Let's come to the printed Kashmiri edition. Now, here is the printed Kashmiri edition prepared by Umakant Kachru.
Oh yes.
This is Jarvis's translation.
Oh my God, page to page.
It's page-to-page translation. The only difference between those two books and this book is, in those times, the font type for S and F was interchangeable. It was
Okay.
S was written like F, and S
Roman.
was written with a cut, with a long neck.
Yeah, that was
So
like this.
that reading that English required a lot of practice. Now, if you are giving this printed edition in Kashmiri to Kashmiri readers, Umakant and I decided, let us change those fonts to normal Roman script, which is readable today, so that people will not have difficulty to read the English version.
That's so.
Otherwise, they would have misspelled the words and not understood the meaning.
Actual meaning, yeah.
After I gifted a copy of the Faxmile edition to Umakant, it struck to him that I had known about this book from my father's library, but now I have the book in my hand. Would it be possible that it can be transcribed into a printed Kashmiri form? Since he's a software engineer and took use of Google Word and some language modules and other things,
All kind of,
and created one page of transliteration in Devanagari script. He sent the sample to me and I was also amazed. I said to him, it's perfectly readable and you are good enough. You should transcribe the entire facsimile edition into a printed edition. So that's how Umakant, with his
Contribution.
creative skills in digital world,
And
transcribed the facsimile edition into a printed edition. Again, this was released at the Spanish embassy, and yet again by Dr. Karan Singh on 8th March 2026, 3 months ago.
my goodness. And he approved it. He himself is a great expert Sanskrit, and
This was inaugurated by Dr. Karan Singh himself. We know it. We know it.
So let's.
So after this translation also came, first it was a single birth, then the two translations became twins. Now the nomenclature is for the entire set as triplets. Same
Wow.
books. No change. You can't make out externally which one is which unless and until you open the book.
Yes.
All of them have the same mustard yellow.
That's beautiful, and you have created it in the same texture, same style, and same front page, and same hardbound, and yellow hardbound with that,
This one was published under NS Kashmir Research Institute. So the logo is of Nectionsnctions Kashmir Institute. The other two is from Pune University. So the logo is of Pune University.
That's the one. That's the one.
Now, please, you can share your pictures for the.
So we'll just have a picture tour. We'll have a picture tour.
Yes, I'll briefly have. That's my grandfather, Professor Nectionsnctions, the
in a young
translator.
age. What must have been the age at that time?
In this photograph, this says 1910. He was 36.
36.
So 74 plus 10.
That is your
This
front
is
page.
the front page of the Sanskrit translation.
Pune.
Prepared in 2019 under Pune Indological Series. This is the facsimile edition of, this is the printed edition. Printed edition. Done in 2025. As I told you, it was released in 2026 March.
Yes, the great
This
son.
is the great philologist, Sir George Grierson.
Grierson.
Yes.
I'm saying dictionary आजकल सही बना.
That's
Jagdar
Professor
Zadu.
Jagdar Zadu.
Professor Jagdar Zadu.
In his Nai Sadak home at Srinagar.
Nice Sadak. Zadus are there a lot. My father's closest friend was there, Kashinath Zadu. Very close friend.
Could have been.
And this is
Now,
Charles Ruppel.
we are introducing a new name to our audience, to our viewers. This is the photograph of Professor Charles Rockwell Landman, the greatest Sanskrit scholar Harvard University has ever produced. He lived in Boston. Keller lived in Boston. They were friends. And surprisingly, Stein also was a common friend with Rockwell Landman. When the Sanskrit translations came, Keller wanted to ascertain how good the translations are. So he told him, have a look at the translations and you can make some editorial corrections. Barring few editorial marks of diacritical nature made by Rockwell Landman in red ink, there is no word replaced by Landman in the entire manuscript.
Wonderful. Such a master genius. I mean, it is something.
and he was the only American at that point of time. He died in 1940. So immediately after 37, Keller must have given him the Sanskrit manuscript, and he made those corrections. When we were editing the Sanskrit version, question arose, who has made these editorial corrections of diacritical marks? Dragomir said, is it your grandfather?
Yeah.
I replied to him, how on earth he would do it? He was paralytic. He could not write the manuscript where he can make these marks. Then they said, can it be Jagdar? I said, once the manuscript left Jagdar's hand, it never came back to him. So somebody else has done it. Dragomir searched for the handwriting styles of Sanskrit scholars of that age at Harvard. And after scanning various specimens of their handwritings, he identified that the diacritical marks are in the hand of Rockwell Landman. Even Dragomir thought, could it be your father? I said, no, I am familiar with my father's handwriting. It's not my father's hand. Then he thought somebody in America. So he searched for all the Sanskrit scholars in that era between 37 and 40 till Landman died, compared their handwriting papers and identified without any doubt and error, this editing is done by Landman. So he is the man who has made those corrections. This is the great savant, Sir Aurel Stein.
Beautiful. Kya baat.
Photograph of 1933. You can see he has signed 1933.
Salutations to this man.
Yes. This is the front jacket of whichever book you want to say, whether it's the Kashmiri edition, whether it's the Sanskrit edition, or it's the Facsimile, because all have the same cover. Now this is the printed edition.
Printed
with
edition.
the NSKRI logo. This is the Sanskrit edition with Pune University logo.
Okay.
There is the Sanskrit edition folio with Jarvis's English translation.
Sanskrit, with the English translation. Page to page. Oh, that's so wonderful.
Yes.
Oh my God, there's a lot of detailing words, meaning it must be an exhaustive manuscript. Written.
It took 6 years for us to prepare. This is the original Facsimile, now lying in a Harvard library, of which I showed you the copy only. This is Uma Khan's printed Kashmiri edition, for which I have written the introduction. If you see the book, introduction is by me.
Oh, great, sir.
This is the original Kashmiri manuscript in a Harvard archive in Professor Jagdar's handwriting. No corrections. Absolutely clean. Perfectly revised and perfectly accurate. This is the picture of release of
Dr.
the
Karan Singh.
Kashmiri edition.
You
Facsimile
sitting
edition at Spanish Embassy.
At the Spanish Embassy. Oh.
Yes. Instituto Cervantes is their cultural center. Now this is I making a small presentation, what little I knew about these translations.
You knew
how
everything.
They came about to be.
Everything started from you only. How can you say that? How little?
This is Dr. Karan Singh launching the book, the Facsimile edition of Kashmiri translation. This is my wife Veena having a good chat with Dr. Karan Singh on the day of the release of the book. This is declaration of release of Sanskrit edition at the Spanish Embassy on October 1, 2024. This is the full picture of the release. You can show it again. This is the announcement banner. This is the release picture. On extreme left is Dr. Oscar Pujol. Next to him is the Spanish ambassador. Then come I, Dr. Karan Singh, Dr. Dragomir Dimitrov, and Professor Mahesh Diokar, Professor of Sanskrit and Pali at Pune University. This is the banner of announcement of Kashmiri translation at the Spanish embassy.
Good.
This is a letter written by Stein to Keller on January 4, 1937. This is again from the inaugural function. This is one of my close friend Ramesh Manvati getting his copy autographed by Dr. Dragomir Dimitrov. That's Dr. Oscar Pujol, me, Dr. Karan Singh, Spanish ambassador's wife, and my wife.
Okay.
Another young friend, Dhruv Kotru, meeting Dr. Karan Singh when he arrived for the inaugural function. That's again from the dais.
I admire Dr.
Karan
Saab.
Singh is making an address at this point of time.
He is nearing 100 now? No.
He is 95, running 96.
But you look at his memory and look at his, agility. Brain is so,
Yes.
I mean, he speaks with
Shiva is
complete.
kind to him. This is my friend Ramesh Manvati, his wife. That is Professor Mahesh Diokar of Pune University. That again is an inaugural function, whether it's Sanskrit or it's Facsmile Kashmiri edition. Because people who released it were the same, Dr. Karan Singh and the Spanish people. Their ambassador and director of Instituto Cervantes, Dr. Pujol. This is eminent author and scholar C.L. Kaul, author of the Encyclopedia of Kashmiri Pandit Heritage and Kashmir Shaivism.
Okay.
That's Sumakant lighting the lamp on the release of his printed edition. That's his father's picture, Prithvinath Kachru. Behind him is Professor Sudhir Sopori.
Okay. Kachru Saab, I have done one conversation on his father.
That's Professor Dragomir lighting the lamp. That's Professor Sopori and Veer Munshi, the artist, doing the honors on the inaugural day. That's me giving a small presentation, whatever I could recall at that moment. I'm discussing some point with Dragomir. This says Dr. Surendra Handu greeting me. That's Sumakant and me in some jovial movement. The man you are seeing sitting in the sofa. Get that picture again. The man sitting in the sofa is Professor Jagdar's grandson and my cousin, Brigadier A.K. Pandita.
Oh, Brigadier A.K. Pandita. Actually, I wanted to contact
my elder brother, my eldest brother.
Okay. He didn't pick up. Actually, I wanted, because after Munshi, I wanted to repeat that episode
This is
of the legacy.
Still call Ramesh Manvati talking about the book with Professor Dragomir. This is some of the people whom I gifted the copy of the book, who had attended the function. Presenting it to the 5th generation of our family. My brother's granddaughter.
Oh, great.
Kaira. That's Sumakant making his presentation. Professor Dragomir talking about the Schlegel font in which the Kashmiri translation is printed in Devanagari. This is the banner of the Kashmiri inaugural function showing the two translators and the title page of the book, Dragomir and me. This is again the same thing. That's my grandfather when he had paralysis. You can see clutched fists and a limp in his foot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And let me recall here, my grandfather was giving a speech on Janmashtami Day in Srinagar in 1932. While addressing the audience, he collapsed on the stage with the
Oh,
stroke.
it was because of some blood pressure or something, you don't know.
I can't have any idea. And he was addressing the people at Sheetalnath temple.
Arey, wow.
Your home ground.
My home and my entire, this all
Yes, he was
conversation, podcast.
addressing on the Janmashtami day, and he suffered the stroke from which he never came fully out. And the little girl is my eldest sister who has expired, Raj
Yeah.
Dulari, Dur.
You told me. You told me the other day, day before yesterday, we talked about her, a very great sad loss.
That's a casual photograph of me. That's
Is
time
a
in his 80s, late
sharp,
70s.
sharp look. Stain.
That's a faculty of SP College, 1921. Everybody is in suit and tie, except for my grandfather on extreme left in Ferran and Dastar.
Traditional Kashmiri.
Yes,
That's
and in the center is Professor McDermott, the principal. That's Jagdar Zadu in white suit. And next to him is Sharga, I.K. Sharga.
Sharga.
Next to my grandfather is the man who did the first edition of Nilmat Puran with Jagdar Zadu, Kanjilal.
Oh, wonderful.
Behind him is the famous Professor B.K. Madan of economics.
P.K. Madan.
If you see on the left shoulder of McDermott is General Malhotra's father, Professor R.D. Malhotra, who taught mathematics. And
Oh,
General
yes.
Malhotra at one point became chief of the Indian Army staff.
All the great people of those times, the great faces.
Yes.
This is again Jagdar
This
Jadu,
is Professor Jagdar Zadu.
Professor Jagdar Jadu, and now again your grandfather.
That's my grandfather.
And this is finally, I picked it up last time because I have to put it in my promo.
I think this is my talk on the release of the Sanskrit edition of Don Quixote
Okay.
at the Spanish embassy.
So we'll just come to the concluding end. But yes, before going, I'll just have a rapid fire because I have added something to make the all great subjects.
I don't know how coherent or incoherent, how connected I was, but
No, it
whatever
was.
I could
I mean,
call
I
out
never.
salient points, I have narrated them.
You went threadbare, and every detailing was so deep and so wide. I mean, everything was amazing. Once it is documented, it is something. I mean, my intervention in between was unnecessary because
No.
you went into
You
the
are the
flow.
soul of these talk shows. Don't say that. We are the
You went.
matter. Your guest speakers are the matter of the show. Your soul, eternal in everybody.
Gush, the gush of the stream was going on, and suddenly I was trying to put some pebbles. But I will go for a rapid fire that you'll have to face because that is a kind of a. I don't know whether you like it or not. No, Karun, it should tell. Karun. Rapid fire. Best Western classic and on-day book and authors. One word. अच्छा कोई one. अच्छा ना यो ही मुश्किल आसान rapid fires.
Between Cervantes and John Milton,
Hey, क्या बात.
I will go for Cervantes because of personal association. Otherwise, my favorite would have been Milton.
On-day book and author.
Beg your
On-day.
pardon?
Best on day book, on day, आज के दिन की, today's book
Best
and
on
author.
day book.
Today means
I
30
would,
year, 40 year,
I
up
would
and down.
put Glass Bead Game by Hermann Hesse, a
Oh,
German
great.
author.
German. How many was
19,
Hitler's?
1946 Nobel laureate in literature. And the book I would put is, the famous book Siddhartha, by
Siddhartha.
the same author, but I'll
Yes.
put my finger on Glass Bead Game. Matchless classic, unparalleled. In my view, in my estimation.
Best Indian Hindi classic, book and author.
I think we should give to any of the Kalidasa's work in Hindi.
Oh, that's true.
Because
Shakuntalam.
Kalidasa draws much from Kashmir. Maybe
Yes,
that's
yes, I have done a
that's
play
my-
also that Ashad Ka Ek Din Mohan Rakesh writes about that. He becomes Matra Gupta while going to Kashmir. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. There are many.
I
Yeah.
have always maintained I am gravitated to old Kashmir. I have no interest in present and future Kashmir.
Present there is
So
no
that
Kashmir.
takes me to Kalidasa's landscape, how he has produced his.
Yeah, romantic and the music and all of it. I mean, all description is very vital.
His all
about
landscape belongs to Kashmir. His
Kashmir.
landscape belongs to Kashmir.
belongs to Kashmir. Best foreign book on Kashmir. Best foreign author and book on Kashmir.
Best foreign book on Kashmir.
Moorcraft or Stein or
If you
Or anybody.
if you want in terms of comprehensive, talking everything about Kashmir, little here, little there,
hmm.
I think the landmark would be Walter Lawrence.
Walter Lawrence. is the-
But if you want about Kashmir and its political issues,
Hmm.
nothing to beat Danger in Kashmir by Joseph Corbell.
Oh,
Nothing to beat.
is written in which year?
Greatest political analysis of Kashmir trouble. Joseph Corbell, 1957, Danger in Kashmir. It's an amazing book.
It's relevant. It is relevant to today's context.
It
He's
will
right.
never die as long as Kashmir is there. Irrespective of the fact whether it's peaceful or it's in turmoil. It's such a scathing political commentary. How the characters behaved and how they created this problem.
Your best genre on literature.
I think fictional philosophy. And I would choose my favorite author, Hermann Hesse.
Hermann Hesse.
I have read his all 29 books. And
All 29.
I'm very happy to share it with you that I must be probably lone Kashmiri to have his entire collection in my personal shelf. 29 works of same author which are now almost out of circulation.
How do you tackle or think about the increased diversion from legacy to the fallacy in contemporary Kashmiri literature?
Jugal, if anyone has asked me about Kashmir, I have categorically maintained 2 or 3 very strong views. One is, when you talk Kashmir, please tell me which Kashmir you are talking about. His prehistoric Kashmir, the Hindu era Kashmir, the Islamic era Kashmir, the 47 Kashmir, or post 1990 Kashmir. There is no one single Kashmir, there are many Kashmirs.
Yes, but when we talk about this classic manuscripts and literature and the legacy, which is not only evident through your collaborative scholarship, Western and Kashmiri Sevens, but besides that, I mean, when we go to see the geography, see the archaeology, see everything, so there is a kind of a established narrative across the globe made from the Hyun song to Orelstein, and there's a legacy with Kashmir. So now
Yes.
I am using fallacy. So diversion from legacy to fallacy, is it?
I'll tell you the root cause. I'll tell you the root cause. Truth in Kashmir has been waylaid.
Hmm.
Till the time we are not able to salvage truth from the debris of hearsay and distortions, the
What's the famous?
paradise will continue to bleed for one reason or the other reason. Truth has been waylaid. We got to rediscover truth about and of Kashmir. Once we are successful in retrieving the truth of Kashmir, there's another dimension to it. Kashmir has a Hindu edifice. The base is built on the Hindu edifice. The superstructure is Islamic.
Arabic.
Where
I
the
can say
two have
Arabic.
met, we have no clear and we have no confirmed history to guide us to know how strong or how weak this bondage became. What was the real fixing force? Was it force? Was it sword? Was it purely through human effort, through proselytization, or through methods which are very ethical? We don't know the truth of this union of the Hindu edifice and the Islamic superstructure.
Actually, I think they suffer. We suffer because there is a lot of identity crisis, which is an aborted identity and original identity. As you said, the
That's
scaffold. Yeah, it is the base and the
that's why
foundation. Yeah,
that's why I'm saying you this unit, this edifice of Kashmir is comprised of two units, the superstructure and the base. And
Arabic.
there is contradiction where and how they fused. And this has led to the divergent
Volcanic
view,
eruption. Yeah,
and
that's
truth has been waylaid, truth has been destroyed.
okay. Okay, let's. This is a very very deep subject. Let's come to the lighter side. The best Indian movie, best Western movie you liked.
If you honestly ask me,
Uh,
I was in university when I probably saw on my own an English movie by the name Bush Cassidy and Sundance Kid.
oh, I don't I don't know even this.
It's an
I,
amazing thriller,
okay.
unthinkable. I still remember the last English movie on my own violation, on my own desire that I must go to a theater and see an English movie. That's Bush Cassidy and Sundance Kid. You can
Where was it?
Google it and find the details.
It was in it ran in Apsara or the Soren or in Palladium. Where?
I saw it in Broadway in Srinagar.
Oh my goodness, Broadway of those times. क्या romance याद कराया यार.
Bush Cassidy and Sundance Kid.
I have noted this. I'll definitely watch this movie. I'm repeatedly seeing old classics. मैं अब तो even for that matter Indian classics also. Guru Dutt's Kora, this Pyasa and all these things. I'm दोबारा देख रहा हूँ. और वेस्टर्न तो देख ही रहा हूँ. वेस्टर्न तो बहुत सारी फिल्में जो मैंने बचपन में देखी हैं उनको रिपीट कर रहा हूँ. But
I'm not a film man. I'm a bookworm.
I know that. I know that. I'm talking
said
to.
I'm a bookworm. I'm not a film man. You're a glowworm. I'm a bookworm. You're a glowworm.
And the best Indian movie.
I would put my finger on Raj Kapoor's
Beautiful. I must see it now again. बचपन में देखी है शायद. That's so.
And I think the second best from Raj Kapoor's creative work, Mera Naam Joker, astounding, astounding.
That is classic. That's classic. In a way, वहाँ पे भी डॉन क्विहोटे का कोई एक किसी एक रूप में in some smaller element डॉन क्विहोटे नजर आता है मुझे.
बिल्कुल डॉन क्विहोटे ही है. बिल्कुल डॉन क्विहोटे ही है.
और लोगों को बहुत सालों बाद वो फिल्म अच्छी लगी. उस बेचारे का सब कुछ बिक गया था, तो फिर उसने वो बनाई, वो सेमी पॉर्न बॉबी, तो उससे रिकवर उसके खर्चे वर्चे हो गए. अदरवाइज वो गया था काम से.
Because it was समझते और सच को ढूंढते सदियां लग जाती है. डॉन क्विहोटे को ढूंढते 90 साल लग गए.
It's almost a century though.
और मेरे घर से ही बनी थी, मुझे ही 90 साल लग गए, तो और उनकी बात ही नहीं है.
That's true, sir. That's true. And best Western song and Indian song.
Indian song, I would recall. Best Western song I will not be able to record because
Okay.
I have no ear for the Western music.
Okay.
Best Indian song I'll remember. "ऐ मेरे दिले नादा तू गम से न घबराना." लता मंगेशकर. मदन मोहन.
मदन मोहन, क्या बात है. मदन मोहन का कल बर्थडे था. मदन मोहन बर्थडे. I put a tribute on his birthday and sent it to so many. It was a great,
He is
great.
worth 100 salutes in the Indian music industry.
Anyway, that ends our discussion. I don't want to now. Actually, I wanted to talk to you much about Don Quixote because I fall in love with this subject and this entire, what do you call it? Projectile which moves from 1605 to 1937 and then 2002 and then on and on. I have heard that John Quixote is being further translated and sub-translated into the main languages in India. Then the sub-languages also, with the use of the modern technology and other things. So its translations have never stopped. It is such an really important. Naruk Reshana. It has not stopped.
Well, here I'll make a little intervention for your information.
Right, sir. Please.
There is nothing in this world, from a bookshop to a cloth variety to a whiskey to a brand name to some program to food series to culinary to cutlery to anything where Don Quixote has not been put as a name.
Yes.
Even NASA, when it sent its voyage programs, Apollo programs, future explorations of moon projected in 2036, and they sent the mission itinerary under the name Don Quixote, which they projected exploration of moon in 2036, and this was done in 1991. That also was. Hurricanes are named Don Quixote.
Hurricane.
Food is named Don Quixote. Books are titled. Everything. There is nothing without Don Quixote.
I think the Walter Lawrence you mentioned about, Walter Lawrence is only because he was a settlement commissioner. He had some job to do. Otherwise, all the earlier authors, they wrote about classics, they wrote about philosophies, they wrote about Persian things. It was accepting for Laleshwari, and this is the only, after many petty years, the people have just starting understanding that what John after you were this when you published this book, now people have started realizing that what exactly is the Western literature and what exactly was the capability of our noble men, of laureates, of native laureates, who could just create such wonderful manuscripts. One question I wanted to ask you: he translated from an English translation. Nowadays, there are many young translators. They read Spanish and they now are trying to translate it into the different languages. Certainly, it will be a refinement from the earlier ones. But how would you differentiate the two? How would you
You
differentiate
see,
the two?
I'll tell you, there is a Delhi University professor by the name Vibha Maurya. She has translated entire Don Quixote of 1,000 pages from original Spanish into Hindi.
Oh, wow, wow.
Dr. Oscar Pujol gifted me a copy at the time of this release of Kashmiri and Sanskrit translation, and he said me, take here this one from us. Entire this thick book done from original Spanish into Hindi.
So I was talking about the Walter Lawrence. He wrote about original Kashmiri, on the road Kashmiri. So वो कश्मीरी जो बेचारा तंग होता था, फिर वो जो पटवारी उसको लूटता था, फिर पटवारी के जाने के बाद एक्सप्रेशन ऑफ एंगर कैसे देता था. I had one sociologist on my program. He said that this was a 700 years of suppression. Even our theater was so shabby. It was so shabby. It was so shabby because of this suppression. Atmanshur Nadim Saban Mahmud Ashos Gobud Cropus. The entire 700 years of foreign rule, because Kashmir had, after Kutarani and that Ramchandra, there was 14th century के बाद तो कश्मीरी कोई था ही नहीं, excepting Sheikh Saab जब आए as a new leader, new political dispensation. They were all non-Kashmiris. Even for that matter, हम हबा खातून के husband को भी अगर बोले वो भी बाहर का ही है. तो everywhere, तो ये सारा community में जो हालत थी वो खराब थी. But yet there is a Don Quixote in every one of us, especially we Kashmiris who are not living in Kashmir. When we look back to Kashmir, like that windmill, we look at our, our street and our building and our legacy like an inflated image, of a giant, of a windmill, or that, this mansion of a, that inn, roadside inn, or the girlfriends or the women we loved or the men we loved. We elevate them to the level of a magical reality and another dimension that probably John Quixote becomes relevant today as well.
You see, Jugal, I'll make two brief remarks in context of what you said. One is, as you are aware about the interface where Western scholars embellished Kashmiri subjects and scholarship, from dictionary to Kashmiri Ramayana, Krishna Avatar Leela, Lal
We had
Khair,
3 programs
Maya
on
Prakash, Kashmiri Ramayana. They were all subjects and literary products of Kashmiri literature. They embellished it all. We would not have been able, or we may not have been able to explore that literature so extensively. Don Quixote is one single exception in this interface, where instead of Europeans and Kashmiris getting engaged on a Kashmiri literary subject, here it was a Western subject, piece of literature of world class, where Europe, where West wanted Kashmiris to embellish their literature.
That's so good. With that wonderful note, we like to.
It's a singular exception.
That's a singular exception. Our salutations to Professor Nityanand Shastri, Orlstein, and Keller, and Professor Jagdar Zadu. The legacy we had in those times. Your grandfather, and yourself also, because you brought back, and because you were born there, and it took you time to understand. And finally, the professors and the literateurs and the scholars who came forward in realizing this wonderful, wonderful mystery of 19th century, 20th century, which will keep our flame, our beacon high for millennia together. Not only Kashmiri, but all Indians, because writing Don Quixote in 20th century by a Kashmiri scholar in Sanskrit. It is something. It is pan Indian. It's pan Indian. It is, it conveys the pride of the complete, sphere of India, the what you call Orient. We can call it.
Well, now that you have paid your tribute to all these people, I'm also duty bound to pay my tribute to the protagonists, from Stein to Keller to my grandfather, Jagdar Zadu, Charles Landman. They were the protagonists who initiated this whole enterprise.
Yeah.
Then translations were prepared by our ancestors. All our ancestors are common to us, irrespective whether they were directly related to us, but they were people from whom we have descended. So in a way, it's a tribute to those people. But I will fail in my duty if history doesn't acknowledge and recognize one single Bulgarian-born German, Dr. Professor Dragomir Dimitrov, who chased this simple announcement that these translations exist in Harvard, and gave 10 years of his life to these 3 volumes. But for Professor Dragomir, there would have been no Keller, there would have been no Don Quixote translation, there would have been no story of Jagdar and Nityanand, there would have been nothing known about how Stein got it coordinated.
Yes.
All this story.
Credit goes to dramaturg.
The story was written by the protagonist, but the scholar of indefatigable scholarship and sincerity and dedication was one single man to whom I owe and all Kashmiris owe a standing salute, and that is Professor Dragomir Dimitrov of the University of Marburg, Germany.
Yes, sir.
Who discovered this story?
It would have not been possible.
Somebody wrote it, but he discovered the story.
Yes, with great salutation to this, the great pioneer and great, flag raiser, and the person who dedicated his 10 precious years for this cause, the fire in him to reach to this, realize all the stream together is something very, very exceptional and unparalleled.
Dragomir trusted my claim. That's how this unfolded.
That is something.
He not trusted what I had written or what I was saying. Where was the need for him to go all the way to America to find these and then do the work?
That was the pure intent.
It goes to him that he trusted a small man like me, but I announced it with all truth that something like this exists, and we must be proud of our ancestors' work.
Thank you. Yes, same here.
So much.
And we all must be very proud, and this program, today's conversation must be, we go into the annals of our archival, Shitala's conversation archival is one of the most important and one of the most, beckon to take you back to this wonderful story of translations by these great geniuses, Kashmiri geniuses, and its, abandonment, and then finally its resurrection, we can say, by the grandson of Professor Nectionsnctions Shastri, Dr. S.N. Pandita Sahib. Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you so much, Jugal, for the opportunity, and I'm grateful to your viewers, to your listeners, to your people who encourage you. You are doing an excellent work.
Thank you very much.
You
Thanks
are
a
visual archivist. You are an audio archivist.
I am a small bit of Keller. I have passion to do something.
All of us do our little bits, and we put it for the posterity. It's for the posterity to take the baton.
Yes, that's true. Thank you very much, sir. You came to my
and
best wishes. Good luck
to all.
Thanks a lot. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. So that was Dr. S.N. Pandita. So we talked about this amazing subject, Don Quixote and its translation in 20th century, where the great scholars from Kashmir into the Sanskrit, one of the oldest language, the first novel of the modern Western world, and then the Kashmiri translation in the Devanagari. So it is something, a great event to be celebrated, to be felt proud about. With that, I would like to close today's show. We had some technical glitches here and there in the beginning, but apart that, this was a very